Hello one and all, this is Soulful Lordy, James Bullock, once again with another video game first impressions. This time around, Guilty Gear Strive Open Beta 2 review for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, for a game that will be tentatively released on June 11th for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC. Now, my review of the first open beta covered a lot of what the technical aspects when it comes to the gameplay of Guilty Gear Strive is all about. So if you haven't checked that out yet, do so, because this is more of a follow-up on what we saw in the original beta and also what the developers changed when it came to the overall presentation of Guilty Gear Strive heading into the full release on June 11th. From a gameplay perspective, a lot of the game is still very similar to what it was in the open beta, though I did notice some big changes when it came to movement. The game feels a little bit slower now, especially with some of the more tankish characters, and it makes it a lot harder to get in, especially if you're playing one of those characters. I also noticed that when it came to dashing backwards, it feels like the distance has been cut down tremendously, which can mean the difference between an effective backdash, especially in the air, or something that will pretty much just leave you open for another counter attack. Another big thing when it comes to counters in general is the animation of it. The whole slow down shaking screen effect has been removed, though it does slow down a little bit. It's not as noticeable and really detrimental to the flow of the fight as it was in the original beta. Another gameplay modification is the screen shattering effect, the stage transitions. In the original beta, you had to do a special maneuver to make the stage transition happen, whereas now you only have to pretty much do a combo and hit them with a big maneuver, and as long as they're stuck against that stage transition moment, they will shatter through the glass and even beat them if they had low enough health. I also noticed some character changes when it came to the movesets. Ramlethal, who was one of my favorite characters in the first beta, has some moves that have been taken away or modified. But thankfully, even though some of the characters felt different compared to the first open beta, I was able to test myself with other characters, and I walked away feeling just as enthused when it came to characters like Leo and Chip that I did coming out of the original beta with Ram and May, which means that the character list, the variety, the offering for the potential of finding a main that may suit you and then finding another one that may suit you is very gratifying and something I'm really looking forward to. Unfortunately, one of the biggest issues I had with the original open beta still exists in this game. Unlike other fighting games where you have a lobby system that's mostly utilized for player matches, the ranked system is tied in to the lobby system. Now, one thing they did improve, and I will not take that away from them, is the fact they've added booths in the lobbies, so it makes it a lot easier to see who you're about to fight instead of just standing with your weapon drawn and saying I'm ready to fight, and then all of a sudden you're teleported to a match. But still, it just feels so awkward and so unreliable. There would be players that would match up with me. We would both say, okay, we're ready to fight, and then the game would just say, you know what, no, we can't even connect, so let's just give up and you have to try it again. And we would try multiple times, and then sometimes opponents would just give up and just go to the next person, or we would just keep trying until we actually got a fight started. Now, one thing that they did implement, which was in the original beta as well, is the ability to go into training mode. And as you're in training mode, you are actually having a matchmaking session as well, so then an opponent will be matched with you and you will have the option of selecting whether or not you want to take the fight or not. That worked perfectly fine in the original beta, but for some reason in this beta, which makes me very worried about what's going to come because the game is about to be released, is the fact that the notification will come up that there are too many matches already queued up and you have to go back to the lobby. Instead of keeping you in practice mode until there's an opening, the game actually boots you out of practice mode back into whatever lobby you're ranked in, which makes absolutely no sense and something that was definitely a hindrance when it came to trying to get an online fight if I was in practice mode and then next thing you know I accept the fight and the game decides, you know what, no, we have too many people, you cannot have a server shutdown, meltdown right now, but you're going to go back to the lobby. Makes no sense. I don't know why that's a problem, why that's an issue, why this was even implemented, but it's something that hopefully they will fix at least after the game is released, because it's hard for me to believe it's going to be fixed before the game is released. Another issue that is definitely a hindrance to the overall spectacle of watching a fighting game play out is there is no spectator mode, and I really wish there was, because with the lobby system that you have in place, this would be perfect for a spectator mode. On a positive note, once again, the online connectivity when it came to actual fights was pretty much flawless. Very rarely did I have any lag or slowdown or connectivity issues. There were a couple of fights that were a little shaky, and I'm kind of looking at the opponent. I'm wondering about that person. I was doing very well, and all of a sudden that internet connectivity started slowing down, so that's neither here nor there, but a majority of the fights that I had online were perfectly smooth, butter smooth. Overall, I come out of this open beta once again having mixed feelings. From a gameplay perspective, Guilty Gear Strive is fantastic. I have a blast, and this is not really my type of fighter. I'm more of a Mortal Kombat guy, but I love these type of high-intensity fights, even if I'm losing, because it's so fun, it's so frenetic, and even when you're losing, you're still learning a majority of the time. On the opposite end of the spectrum is the route to get to those fights, especially online. I really wish they would just accept the fact that the lobby system is not great for ranked play. Just like every other fighting game, including games that have been developed by Arc Systems, understand why this works perfectly fine in player matches and not as a ranked mode. So there you have it. This has been Soulful Lordy. James Bullock, once again, with another video game first impressions. Guilty Gear Strive Open Beta Review 2 for the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. For a game that's tentatively going to be released on June 11th for the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, and PC. Now if you don't mind, I'm going to go back and watch some collective footage of all my fights and figure out what I did right, what I did wrong, and get ready for the big day, because I hate to be that person on the receiving end of a thunderous screen shatter that will make me have no choice but to say, "Oh Lordy."